Jamaica, Wagwan. Welcome to another program of Centrally Speaking.
The program that opens up the conversation around important matters of economics and finance, matters of national importance that have an impact on your life. I'm Sheena.
And I'm Anna, and today we have one of those nationally important topics. Trust me, to the program, it's going to be nice. I'm not going to like this. Don't miss a minute if you eat, put on the food, because today we're going to be talking about the ABM network.
Today's show, as Anna said, promises to be a good one. We have our own Bank of Jamaica governor. That's Richard Byles, who is no stranger to Centrally Speaking, and Audrey Tugwell-Henry, president of the Jamaica Bankers Association.
Yep, two powerhouses. So we anticipate an exciting show. But before we hear from Audrey Tugwell-Henry and Governor Richard Byles, we want to hear from you. As always, do you know what time it is? Street check.
What does the abbreviation ABM mean?
Wait a moment, think. Automated banking machine.
I don't remember, but it's the process for you withdrawing and deposit.
Automated banking machine.
I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure.
Oh yeah, automated banking machine.
I don't remember right now.
Automated banking machine.
Automated bank machine.
So Anna, do you always get good service from ABMs?
Brother, no.
No?
Brother, no.
God, it's frustrating.
Hey, the worst part of it. Like you go up there, so, you go at ATM. Oh, it not work, you know. You go down there, so, it a work. No, it not work. You have to drive to all about 5, 6, 7 before one work.
No, that's extreme still. You really have some bad ABM service.
I tell you, it rough. I feel it for us Jamaicans.
But today we're going to learn a little bit more about ABMs and standards, huh?
Yes. Well, thankfully, our guests today have some good news in that area. Audrey Tugwell-Henry, president of the Jamaica Bankers Association, and our very own Governor Richard Byles. Welcome you both to Centrally
Welcome to
Speaking.
Centrally Speaking.
Pleasure.
It's very good to have you both. And Governor, I'm going to start with you. So, Bank of Jamaica recently issued some standards with respect to the operation of ABMs. I want you to tell us and our viewers why this is so and what led to it.
Sure. Well, I hope, Anna, that experience was last year and not this year. But we have over 900 ABMs in Jamaica, and that gives us about 44 ABMs per 100,000, which puts us in the top 25% of countries in the Caribbean and Central America in terms of the penetration of ABMs in the population.
Interesting.
Nonetheless, we heard the population saying they have trouble with the machines, especially last year. And I think a couple of things came together to make last year particularly difficult. One, of course, was the security problems that were had.
Yes.
And the company that delivers the cash came under a lot of stress and strain. They had to double up their security, and that slowed down their efficiency.
Yeah.
Didn't help either that is a year we changed currency notes also, and that put the banks under a lot of pressure to have their machines ready on time. And, you know, strangely enough, a lot of the banks use the same set of persons to change the machine for the notes. So they had to, many of the banks had to wait in line until that provider had gone through. Audrey probably knows those details better than I, but it caused a chronic kind of crunch in the system last year, which eased, I think, towards Christmas, and hopefully is better this year. Now, we called the banks together and we said, look, we don't have the legal power to compel you, but you want your reputations to be held high, and so do we, and we want the public to have good service. So let's work out a method of standards that you will abide by in respect of the machines. And that is how we came about setting these standards. And we worked with the Financial Services Commission, who in the future are going to be the persons that look at market conduct and customer protection.
Okay.
All right, so I'm glad you contextualized that for us, Governor, you know, giving us the backstory as to why the service was particularly poor last year. And I'm happy to note that it is a collaborative effort between the Bankers Association to develop those standards, which I suspect are a little lengthy. So would you like to share with us, the key standards, those that are of particular interest to the
So the standards are pretty thorough and very numerous, and that is because we are trying to build an international set of standards. But the ones that affect people mostly are as follows. 90% of all ABMs per bank must be working at any one time. Right? And of that 90%, they need to be up and working 95% of the times. So that you shouldn't have the experience where ABM is down and down for a long time. In fact, the standard is that in the corporate area, in the urban areas, Kingston, Mobile, Ocherius, those larger cities, it should not be down or without cash for more than 1 hour. And in more rural areas of Jamaica, not down for more than 3 hours, because it takes time to get the cash there and so forth. So those standards are pretty high, and there are others too, but those are the ones that affect the population mostly.
So Audrey, this question is for you now.
Sure.
So we heard about the pretty high standards. Pretend governor is not here.
Oh, gosh.
So don't look at her. Pretend he's not here. So we want to know, what was the level of consultation between the Bankers Association and Bank of Jamaica in arriving at these standards? And do banks believe that these are reasonable and achievable?
When the central bank reached out to us to have the conversations around ABM standards, it was welcomed.
Yes.
And we're quite pleased to participate and to collaborate with the central bank. I just want to thank Governor for really making it inclusive.
Right.
And there was consultation at different levels. We had meetings, we had working sessions, we had an opportunity to discuss what it means to operate an ABM network. As banks, we operate in a very, I would say, difficult set of circumstances. The worst of it, as Governor mentioned, being a high crime environment, and that really negatively impacts the cost of doing business in Jamaica. We also have a situation where there are not many providers for cash in transit, and quite frankly right now there's one major provider that the entire market uses. And so those are some of the challenges. And the other thing that Governor would not have mentioned that created the perfect storm for the issues we saw with the ABMs last year was that one of the global providers of the machine, the ABM machine, declared bankruptcy just around the time when we were converting to the new polymer notes. And a number of our banks locally use machines provided by that global provider. So I would say last year was the perfect storm. And I would like to use this opportunity as well to say to our clients and Jamaican public in general that the banks are always concerned and always work hard and overtime to improve and to enhance the client experience.
As you might know, viewers, the service level standards were implemented as of April 2, 2024. So, Audrey, the institutions have 9 months to get it together. So, on behalf of Jamaica, what make it have to take so long, though?
Well, the truth is, we don't think 9 months is enough time. Because remember that each institution stands on its own.
Right.
Each institution has technology and operating standards and procedures that we're now asked to synchronize and standardize across the country. So, one institution may have a different operating system. There may be technology changes that we will need to do to be able to do some of the reporting that is required by the standard. There will be operating systems that we will need to change. And so to allow for the change to happen in a seamless way without creating chaos in the market, the central bank has allowed 9 months. But quite frankly, the industry required at least 12 months to be able to do so seamlessly and to give ourselves time to test the reporting. Because when you start to collate data at
Yes.
an industry level. You want to make sure that we're comparing apples with apples and oranges with oranges, right? So we don't think 9 months is enough time, but one thing that we're happy to say is that within each institution, what our clients can look forward to is continued improvements in ABM availability and ABM servicing, and some of that has already started.
So, Governor, one of the criticisms that we've heard since we've announced the standards is that there are no sanctions, and essentially they have no teeth. How would you respond to that?
Yeah, the truth is that we don't have the legislative power to say to the banks, you must abide by this standard, and if you don't, here is a penalty, and to make the penalty bite. The fact is that in the last 25 years, Bank of Jamaica has focused much more on its prudential management of the financial sector. So from the mid-90s, when we had a big financial crisis, the BOJ has focused on making sure that banks are strong, they have the capital, they have the liquidity, that their loans are of good quality, that the management and the processes are excellent. And the proof of that is we've had no bank failures, even through those 25 years when other countries have had bank failures. With the announcement of the Twin Peaks last year, January, we have begun a process of trying to create legislation to do with market conduct and customer protection. And the FSC and ourselves are working on that assiduously.
Right.
Legislation in Jamaica takes a long time. That's just the truth. People tell me it's the same thing all over the world, but in Jamaica it seemed long to me. So I don't think we'll get the legislative changes that we want before another 2 years. Now that's a long time to wait. So in the meanwhile, what we're going to do is, along with the FSC, is introduce and try to solicit the support of the financial sector in abiding by new standards of market conduct and customer protection.
Right.
So not just the banks, but all of the financial sector, whether it's insurance companies, security dealers, pension funds, whatever. So we're going to work with these people to establish the standards, agree them, and to implement them and practice them, even in the absence of the law.
Okay.
Now, I think that all of these institutions have a reason to want to abide by the standards because their reputations
Right.
are at stake. And Audrey spoke to that. You don't want to have a company that has a bad reputation to do with customer service or to do with how you conduct yourself in a marketplace. So we are relying very heavily on that for the time being until we can have the legislation in place.
So you heard it from Governor Byles. We'll continue the conversation on the new standards for ABMs in just a moment.
Welcome back to your favorite TV show, Centrally Speaking. We are speaking with Richard Byles, Governor of Bank of Jamaica, and Audrey Tugwell-Henry, President of the Jamaica Bankers Association, about the new ABM standards for banks. Quite welcomed. So Audrey, tell Jamaica. All right, so before we went to the break, Governor told us that there are 3 major standards. From your perspective and from the JBA's perspective, which of these standards are going to impact or benefit Jamaicans right away? Since we have 9 months to wait, for everything come together.
I think Jamaicans will start to see improvements in availability of cash, and that has already started. Most of our members have kind of gone beyond some of the initial conversion issues to the polymer notes.
Yeah.
And also a number of members have been doing remedial work on the network. What we find, and this is factual, is that the utilization rate of ABMs in Jamaica is the highest, I would say, one of the highest in the world. So the number of transactions per ABMs really is very high. And so there's a heavy wear and tear on the physical machines. And a number of our members have been replacing parts, replacing ABMs. We do have plans, and we have shared with the central bank plans to expand the network. A number of our members are adding net new machines to the network, and a number of members are adding new machines to replace older machines. And ABM typically has a life cycle, a lifetime of about 8 years. But because of the wear and tear that we experience, we find that we have to replace our ABMs more frequently.
Jamaicans cashing man.
Exactly, right? So we're hoping that they'll use some of the other channels that we've invested in. So I think that right now, just given the persistent focus on improving the performance of the network, our clients can look forward to improved performance in terms of availability of cash, and they can look forward to improved ABM uptimes because of the work that we're doing.
So Audrey, in examining the standards, we realize that you have a 95% minimum uptime for the operation of ABMs. So for layman, in layman terms, what does that mean?
Okay, so in the perfect world,
Yes.
every time you go to an ABM, you would expect it to work. And you'd expect, if you wanted to do cash or make deposits, that the ABM would be available. But there are a number of components that are, come together for an ABM to work every time. The telecommunications must work. Electricity, the consistency in the power to the ABM must work. The service provider has to be able to navigate the obstacles to get to the ABM to replenish cash or empty deposits to make it available. So there is an understanding that we do not have, the opportunity to manage all the variables all the time. So what it would mean in layman's term is that if you went to the ABM 10 times, 9.5 times out of 10, you should be able to get what you went there done. So
currently, the experience as an ABM is that when you go and you see somebody coming out, you say, it a work. And I say, work for me, try your card. And you go in and your card no work. The next person say, it no work. So we say, it don't want to work. So under the new standards that the bank has collaboratively put together, how will we know when an ABM is down and when it's back up? Do you have an app that we can say, okay, ABM and Constance
I think that's one of the challenges, whilst we broadly speaking support and agree with the standards, the notification and information around when an ABM is up versus down is one that we find particularly challenging, because an ABM may be down simply because the provider is there loading the cash. And so any expectation around real-time communication of an ABM being up or down inherently could create chaos, right? But we do believe that if there are situations where an ABM is going to be down for an extended period of time, that should be communicated. And the other issue is with communicating to customers around when an ABM is up versus down, is you could have 10 ABMs in a location, and one of the 10 is down. How do you communicate to the customer to say the ABM is down? They may interpret that as the ABMs are down versus one being down. So those are some of the details we will have to work through with the central bank in terms of the notification to clients around ABM availability.
So Governor, this one is for you. So it is evident that BOJ is very concerned about the availability of cash. Do the standards have provisions for how and where ABMs are located? And I ask this just because of a simple example. My jerk guy, Tony, he has to go miles to find an ABM sometimes from where his jerk station is. And sometimes when he gets there, it isn't working. Are there provisions in place for, in terms of location?
There are no standards in regards to that. And the other variable is that these machines cost a lot of money. Some of the very intelligent ones, a lot of money. And so they have to be in an environment where their usage justifies the capital cost. So you will find that there are spots in the island where the coverage is not as good as you'd like it to be. So you live in a small town and there may be one ABM and that's down. That means you have to all the way to the next town. We don't like that and we want to improve on that. But at the same time, we have to be cognizant and sensitive to the fact that these are investments that have been made and they need to have a return. One of the things that the government and the banks are considering is whether there could be a joint venture partnership where in environments where it doesn't justify ABM, can the government bail in along with the private sector, the banks, and put a ABM so that it is worth a while. Okay, so that's a consideration that is being looked at right now. We surveyed all the banks, and the numbers that we have come up with is that in the next 2 years, there are 130 more machines to go in to the network. And 200 of the older ones are going to be taken out and refurbished and new machines put in there. So that should also make the reliability of the network even better. More machines, newer machines, the smarter machines in there. And if we can get the government private sector partnership to go and to put a couple more machines in some of those blank spots, I think we'll be in a much better place in a couple of years' time. I must say though, you know, I really wish the Jamaican public would use the digital way of payment.
If government ever said it.
No. They have a very wide variety of every customer of every bank can have a debit card, can have a credit card. Plus, we have Jamdex that is coming along. A lot of the problems that we're having with cash disappear when you use digital forms of payment. So this is just an encouragement to the Jamaican public and to you ladies. Use your digital, whether it's a credit card, debit card, or Jamdex, use them more.
I will definitely tell Tony.
I just want to add and to support Governor. Thank you for that, Governor. And just to say that we are actually seeing the movement to other payment methods outside of cash. And that's quite remarkable. It's not spoken about a lot, but when we look at, we have a Multilink, and that's a company that is owned by 7 banks to allow interoperability between banks. So a customer can use an ABM or point of sale for any bank seamlessly, and at a fairly low cost. And what we see from that data set is a significant growth in point of sale use and ABM basically flattening. We also see that within our own institutions where online, mobile, and point of sale are growing at a faster rate, and the use of ABM is pretty much flat to declining. So, you know, we continue to encourage our clients to use the other channels. They're safer, they're faster, they're more secure.
I want to piggyback on a point you just made, Audrey, to ask Governor a question. The point about being able to go between banks, use the ATM cards, the ABM cards between banks at a fairly low cost. Governor, with the replacement of ABM machines, you just said that there are 130 new ones to be put in the network, and the cost of this kind of investment. You know, part of using the ABM network is the fees that the banks charge. Is it that we, again, collaboratively, or from the position of the BOJ, you can tell the banks how much to charge, or will that be a consideration? Will the fees remain the same? Will they go down?
No, we operate in a market economy, and so we don't tell anyone what to charge. But we do have a kind of oversight role, where banks will come to us and say, we are going to adjust our fee, and here is a justification for it, and we would look over it. If we think it's reasonable, we would give a nod, no objection. If we think it's a little bit too much, we would discuss it with the bank. So we don't have the right to say this is a fee, but we do have they do come to us for a no objection in the event that they want to change a fee.
So we've seen the collaboration between JBA and BOJ, specifically with enhancing the experience, the customer experience for ABMs. And I'm going to zero in on disability. So you're making that experience even more better for persons with disabilities. This is very commendable. That's the first thing. Yes. Will we be seeing more collaborations to continue to enhance that customer experience between the regulator and the regulated entity?
Well, you know, you may be surprised, but we do collaborate with the banks a lot. We have regular meetings where we discuss things in general.
Right.
And if we have particular projects going, we collaborate intensively. So let's say new legislation is coming.
Yes.
Right? We talk with the banks and we go through every clause so that everybody understands. We listen to what they have to say, take it on board. Sometimes we push back. But it's always a relationship of let's talk about it. And we do that constantly at the level of Audrey and myself, but also at the level of working groups, the technicians. So we do that naturally all the time.
Okay.
Agreed. I could have said it better. And we do collaborate. There's a lot of consultation that takes place, and it augurs well. You know, I want to thank the central bank and the governor for the leadership. I think Jamaica stands proudly as a well-managed, well-regulated financial sector, and that's because we take our role seriously, and the central bank efficiently regulates the banking sector.
Thank you.
So you can look forward to more collaboration, and even on the matter of disabilities, we do support and welcome the standards, and we continue to try to make sure that persons with disabilities will have access to these non-branch channels as well.
Okay.
Governor Byles, Audrey Tugwell-Henry, thank you so much for joining us on Centrally Speaking and giving our viewers some insight into the level of collaboration between the central bank and the Jamaica Bankers Association to improve service level standards to Jamaicans. Today we were speaking about the ABM network. Interesting information that emanated from this interview. Stay with us. Centrally Speaking is back after the break.
So you heard all about the operation of ABMs and the new service level standards. It's now time for our Fast Facts. Number 1. There are over 900 ABMs in Jamaica, or 44 ABMs per 100,000 people, ranking us among the top 10% in the Caribbean and Latin American countries. Number 2. Bank of Jamaica and the Jamaica Bankers Association collaborated to create the new ABM standards. Number 3. 90% of all ABMs must be working 95% of the time. Downtime in rural areas should be no more than 3 hours and 1 hour in the urban areas. Number 4. The utilization rate of ABMs in Jamaica is one of the highest in the world. Number 5. An ABM typically has a life expectancy of 8 years. But guess what? Jamaica replaces ABMs more frequently. That's an interesting fact. 130 ABMs will be added to the network and 230 removed for refurbishing by next year. And a bonus fact. Digital forms of cash can eliminate cash issues. Jamdex, debit, and credit cards are safe alternatives. And that's it for Fast Facts. So that's our program for this week.
Follow us on X and Facebook at Central Bank JA and Central Bank Jamaica on Instagram and on BOJ's YouTube channel. You can also visit the website boj.org.jm.
We also invite you to send in your questions on X or Facebook.
And of course, tune in again to Centrally Speaking next week at the same time right here on this station where we will have another special guest.
I'm Sheena.
And I'm Anna.
Thanks for watching. Centrally Speaking is a production of Bank of Jamaica.